Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our professional development event this morning. So this is our next set of series, which is strategies to attract new talent to your business. I want to thank Kaiser Mason Ball and JD Factors for being our title sponsor for this event. Thank you so much for your continued support on these events. I do have both of our sponsors here to say a few words. I'll have Avery from Kaiser Mason Ball. Do you want to say a few words?
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Avery. I work at a great full-service law firm called K&B Law, located near Square One in Mississauga. And I'm looking forward to hearing from the other speakers today.
Thank you so much. And we also have, you just told me how to say it again, but I'm gonna.
You got it right, Stephanie.
Did I? Oh, awesome! You're the best. So, from JD Factors, thank you again for being one of our sponsors today.
Thank you. My pleasure. We are happy to be part of the virtual professional series. Thank you, MBOT, for putting it together. We are in Mississauga. We've been here since 1989, providing high quality, true non-recourse factoring services to businesses all across Canada and US. We have 3 offices in Canada to serve you from local for any local businesses of any size or age. If you're looking to get your invoices factored and making sure that your cash flow is always positive, reach out to us, and we look forward to a great event today. Good luck, everyone.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And thank you again for all of you for joining us this morning. Kieran is going to be our moderator this morning, so I'll pass it over to her in just a moment. But we are recording this event, and it will be available on our website in the coming days. We'll take some questions, and I know Kieran will go over all this, but definitely use your chat box at the bottom of your screen. And I think that's all I have on my end. So I'll hand it over to our awesome moderator. Have a great event. And I know our speakers are going to be fantastic on such a timely topic. So over to you, Kieran.
Thank you, Stephanie, and welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining us here. A little bit about a professional development committee under MBOT, in case anybody new is joining, because I do see some new names this time, so that's always exciting to see that. It's lovely to have you, and the Professional Development Committee is just a group of us that are diverse from different backgrounds, different industries, and employed or employers, combination of all, but just passionate to bring some newness into Mississauga and neighboring areas of what is happening in the market, what we can bring to the table, share ideas, bring some expert speakers, panelists, people that are in the marketing, going through similar challenges, have tried some new concept and things, and can share some great ideas and solutions for all of us. So it's always exciting, and it's exciting for us for a year. We always come up with a theme. So the theme this year, we're focusing into a lot of talent, and they're always sequential. So I always encourage you all to keep a watch for every topic that we do in each quarter, and see if that is something that you're working towards, you're going through right now, or you're trying to look for solutions, or maybe it's in your plans in the coming year to work towards. So it's good to have some ideas and park them at the side if that is what works the best for you. So we appreciate any questions that you bring to the table, and we will try to make sure we can answer as many as we can. And if anything is left, we'll see if we can send those questions to our panelists today and forward those answers if MBOT can share like a whole to the database. So I'm excited to introduce to you, to the 3 speakers, a little bit about my committee. Sharif is here, who is the current chair. So thanks, Sharif, for all the ideas and overseeing the group. And Sachin, I see you now. Sachin and Ritu and I have been working in the background this quarter to bring put together this event for you. So hope you guys like it. So here, let me introduce to you our 3 speakers. You see Moya, you see Michael, and you see Stephanie on the screen. So excited to have you 3 with us. To make it a little exciting, exciting. I'm just going to say a couple liners, but I will hand it over to you to take a minute and just, further introduce so that people can know you as an individual. The thing we want to do in talent management anyways. So Moya is the key member and a senior leadership member at Achieve. She's currently the Vice President of Employment and Newcomer Services. In her role, she brings strategic leadership, direction, and management of wide range of services that support employment services, youth programs, settlement, and newcomer services, and rationalize women and their operations, ensuring alignment with organizational strategic direction and goals. So Moya, we welcome you here today and we look forward to hear from you. And we have Michael, who is the director of Cecil College of Business, Health, and Technology. Welcome, Michael. He's a lifelong learner and a very passionate believer in education and training. He has spent many years in the education, training, and hospitality field. Since 2014 to now, he has been the director at Cecil College of Business, Health, and Technology, and he's managing the academic, student services, and experiential learning activities for their private-public partnership of Lambton College in Sarnia and Cecil College in Toronto. They have currently 20 undergraduate and postgraduate two-year program at the Toronto campus with over 6,000 students from 50 countries that are enrolled under business, technology, and healthcare leadership. So we look forward to hear from you, Michael. Thank you for making the time.
Thank you very much.
And now we have Stephanie. Since I just don't know enough Stephanies, well, I now know another Stephanie, Stephanie Brooks. She's head of research and recruitment at MTCG and Associate. Over the last 15 years of recruitment and research expertise, she offers functional expertise in managing difficult engagements in engagement services, executive search covering the leadership engagements. She is currently the head of research and recruitment with her organization and has been with the organization since 2009. She manages the research and recruitment function for MTCG, and she offers a consultative and proactive approach with highly developed expertise in managing clients and candidate relationships. And she's very passionate about delivering an excellent candidate experience. So I welcome you all three and I look forward. So let's roll it up we will continue to have a conversation. But if you have any questions as you're listening to our panelists, please send us your message in the chat box. Ritu, Sachin, and I will try to keep a watch on it, bring the questions if it is relevant to the conversation that is going on, or we'll try to save up depending on the number of questions we have on hand in the very end and just go direct to Q&A. So we'll kind of play as it goes, but please, we encourage you to jump in and get engaged with us. Oh, did I forget our Anna Adams, who's also from MBOT, and Stephanie, the two ladies that rock the show in the background for us and do all the support to us. So thank you, ladies. Let's begin. If I may jump into a question to Stephanie. Stephanie, tell us a little bit about identifying trends in the job market today, as well as the gaps that's the need of the employers and employees in today's job market.
Absolutely. And thank you again for having me. We are seeing a big swing in terms of how we're engaging with employees, and that has continued to shift and will continue to shift and has had a big impact over the last couple of years. And we need to think a bit more about how we're engaging with the talent in terms of what people are looking for. And I'm passionate about finding that it's an alignment between employer and employee, and how can we better identify what individuals value in a career move. And big part of that is getting your brand out there, really leading with your values and being able to really engage with candidates from the very beginning. We are seeing a lot of various trends in terms of how people work, where people work, looking at a variety of areas of flexibility. And sometimes there's a gap between what employers think they're looking for and finding the employee skill set that's going to be in unison with those goals. And I think there's a lot we can do to be creative on bridging those gaps and being very clear on some of those expectations both ways right from the beginning. And I think that's part of what's led to things like we hear a lot of buzzwords around the Great Resignation and other areas where people have had a lot of time to reflect on what they are looking for. And organizations need to be agile in order to adapt to where we're at from a marketplace perspective.
Yeah. No, thank you, Stephanie. I think one of the things we actually were doing a dry run a week or 10 days before and going through all the topics between our subcommittee and our panelists. And one thing that keeps coming back and back again and again in every conversation is the importance and the change that is required in this whole concept and in this scope. We're changing so fast that I personally only can look up to trees that transform on a everyday basis throughout the year. And when we as human have to go through a change, we always have that resistance and concern and worry and we think so much about it. But the way the market is going, forget just COVID impact. There are so many threats that were challenged this decade that change is so important and at this moment when so many new generations are jumping in. And Moya, Stephanie, and Michael had so many great valid points about why it is so important to bring newness in your strategies, in your processes, to make sure you can answer to the current challenges that you have. So keep a watch about those valid points that they're bringing because they seem like great ideas for us to have some answers. Moya, can I ask you a question on a newcomer, since that's your expertise? Newcomers that are entering the Canada today, they're usually highly skilled people and have expertise that many employees can seek. Yet many employers are unaware of these government resources that can help them gain access to the right skills and assistance with the training and also with the placement. So what can you share with us on this?
So there are many, there's a plethora of resources that are available. Organizations that have been funded by the government are actually there to assist you. We have clients who are coming in, newcomer clients who are registered with our organizations that are vastly experienced in what many employers are looking for. So connecting with community service organizations like Achieve can be very helpful. There are lots of resources as well that are available. Not only is it a talent pool that you can tap into if you have job postings or specific hiring needs, many organizations are also able to provide many free services to employers. It can be everything from advertising a job opportunity. It can be organizing a job fair or something that might be very customized just to the type of positions that you're looking for. And it does create a diverse pool of candidates, not just newcomers, but other job seekers as well, that if you're looking to diversify your workforce to include more women or youth or others. But it's very, even participating in networking events, there's the Triad Mentoring Partnership. There are other opportunities where employers can even come in as a guest speaker for bridging programs where many newcomers are trying to ensure that their skills are up to date and that they're connecting with employers. There are even resources, in some cases, there may be hiring incentives or wage subsidies that are available for employers as well. And connecting with an Employment Ontario service provider can help you with some of those things. And as well, if you're onboarding a new employee, the Canada Ontario Job Grant is also available to help you offset some of those costs. So if it's some for training and upskilling for them as well. And the great thing about these resources that are available, it's not a place and forget it kind of situation. The service providers and skilled job coaches and job developers and employer liaisons are there to help you throughout the entire journey. When you're onboarding, if you're, if it's a need for reskilling of employees or even just support to help with that general onboarding piece that happens.
Yeah, and I think as Moya is sharing with us about all the great programs, and many of them are are completely new. Like I, as a business consultant, when I'm working with my clients, sometimes I will say, hey, did you hear about this program, this grant? And they're like, what are you talking about? So there is so much that sometimes the resources that are available and we are not aware of that. So we encourage you. Actually, if I can put Sachin and Ritu on the spot, see if you can pull the three website for all our three panelists, because we have information coming from Moya, who are, bringing those programs and linking the government to the workforce and industries and our employers. Whereas Stephanie is working with, marrying the two together, the employees and employers. And we have Michael, who is injecting these new employees, upcoming employees in the workplace. So we have a nice diversity here, and I'm sure there's great, reading material on their website and further questions that you may be able to ask them in future as well. So Michael, what do you say about how are these post-secondary programs that you have at your college, how are they preparing the graduates, whether they're local or many of them are international students, for the today's job market that we have on hand?
Yeah, thank you very much, Kiran, and good morning, everyone. And, first of all, all our students that are here at NABTA College in Toronto, which is operated by Sestrup College, are international students. So international students gravitate to Canada because we have one of the best postgraduate work programs in the world. So students can come here, take a 2-year program, get a 3-year postgraduate work permit, get a great job, and then 6 months into their postgraduate work permit, they can apply for their permanent residency. So this is the goal of the international student that comes over. So Canada's invested a lot to bring students here, professionals, grow our economy and grow our population. So as Moya pointed out, there are so many programs, so many resources. There's so many people that are available to help our students and our graduates get these phenomenal jobs. So what we do is we work with a group of over 5,000 employers. And we've been around since summer of 2011. We've had over 18,600 graduates since that time. So our students are in high demand. We have program advisory committees. So we hear from our employers on how our students can add value to the workplace. So we work closely with our employers. We also work closely with our faculty, and we have program curriculum committees where, we ask our faculty, are we doing everything possible to make sure that we get those opportunities for our students in the workplace? Because at the end, it's great to have a credential, and you need it to get your postgraduate work permit, but you also need the right job to get your permanent residency. So we have that experiential learning component in the last semester of our programs, where students can do their co-op and then transfer over seamlessly to an employer who wants to hire them. So I remember this last semester in the winter of 2022, we had over 800 of our graduates find jobs with employers. So it's a really hot market right now. Employers are looking for great candidates, and we're here to support them. And that's what we do with our students. Our students are from 50 different countries. They come here and they made a lot of sacrifices to come to Canada. I know it's a lot of ups and downs for them because they're coming to a new country, but it's well worth it. And like I've said to students and staff all the time, there are many countries that will welcome you with open arms, but very few countries are like Canada, where you can study and get your postgraduate work permit and eventually apply for your permanent residency and Canadian citizenship. So the pathway is there. So that's what we do.
And thank you, Michael, for sharing that. I think in one of our conversations, we were even talking about the students that are coming far away, leaving their families, their culture, their environment where they're comfortable, and coming out of that comfort zone. They're serious. They're just looking for a right fit. Colleges and universities that they are providing program, as Michael explained, is giving them that platform to enter the workforce. And then I know, Michael, we talked about many conversations where how now further as a next step, culture is being talked about. How can you groom these students with a culture touch too, so that they can feel comfortable, they're more open to their talking. Usually they're hesitant because they're still trying to find a home and find a place around for themselves. How can they comfortably be open to bring their thoughts in a round table or in boardrooms and not feel judged, right? So that's again a culture check for them. And a lot of these efforts are being made by colleges and all educational institutions too. So something to be watchful of that. Thank you, Michael. Stephanie, what do you think about why potential employees and even the contractors what are they looking for from their employers in today's job market?
And I'm going to bring this back to there's a gap that we need to fulfill, but I'm going to bring this back to the candidate experience, because we're looking at a market where that really is an important part from the very beginning. Looking for candidates is not a transaction, it's a journey. And how you engage with potential talent from the beginning makes a huge difference. And I find sometimes that there can be too much of a transaction in terms of how we engage with the talent market. And when we're looking at where and what people are looking for, it's not only about flexible work arrangements and compensation and total rewards. They want to be part of organizations where they can feel valued, where they can make an impact. We need to be looking at diverse amount of candidates in terms of people that are undervalued in the marketplace, making that impact and trying to fulfill that gap. Maybe it's hiring at different levels of experience. Maybe you're bringing someone in that can make a real impact for 2 to 3 years. You need to be looking at all of the levels of your organization and really looking at what does your organization need and how do you best bridge that with the talent. And really, I always say, it's not a transaction, it's a journey. Engaging with individuals, it really breaks down to communication, expectations, and stakeholder management and relationships. And you can bridge a lot of those gaps between employer and employee by making that a positive experience, making sure you have alignment with all the stakeholders involved. I've seen a lot of things fall apart when people are still figuring out what they're looking for when they're already speaking to candidates. Those are things where if you spend more time up front, you can avoid those gaps. And then I think looking at some of the areas where communication and transparency and expectations go a long way. You can also fill that gap between employer and employee by giving a realistic job preview of what's required. You're going to find better alignment between employer and employee when they really understand what the job requires, what your culture is about, how do you work? Are you also in an environment where you're in a situation where you require people to be in an office a certain amount of days per week? Maybe you have more flexibility. And I think just again, being clear, you can weed out a lot of things from the beginning by having transparent conversations, really engaging with what people are looking for, and then making sure you have the right people from your business involved, again, to make sure you're finding that alignment. That's going to help look at that alignment between what people are looking for and what people are going to achieve in your business and can grow. So I think a lot of that comes down to how you engage from the beginning, because they're looking for more. You have a work family, you're looking for more. It's not just coming in and doing a job.
That's great. I think there was a term that we came up a month ago with one of the clients I was working with, pre-boarding. Right. While in this world, we're still struggling and many organizations still have to fill a big gap in onboarding, we at this moment really need a thorough planning and a structure and a strategy of pre-boarding. And Stephanie has added such great points in this area that we all can consider again as well. Thanks, Stephanie. Moya, what are some of the barriers that prevent employers from assessing these newcomer pool of talent that we have?
I think that, there can be tremendous competition for newcomer talent, and that, we need to make sure, a couple of tips that I would offer: make sure that your job postings, that you've done a thorough representation of what the job is. I'm picking up on a little bit about what Stephanie has said. Sometimes you need to make sure that you're using inclusive language, that you are describing sometimes the culture of the organization so that you can ensure that there's alignment with the individual that you're trying to recruit. And I like to say the best way we have to change the way that we recruit. It's not screening candidates out. We should be looking at screening candidates in to our organizations. And we tend to, and we've seen this over and over again with many employers, when they're posting a position, it's because they have a problem, right, that needs to be solved in their organization. There's a human resource need that has to be done. And when they're looking at those possible solutions, they put together a job description that is asking for the world. I'm going to say this would be the ideal candidate that, if they have this, and I'm looking for 5 years experience, and, I'd like them to know this software. And if they knew that software as well, and can they speak 3 languages, and so on and so forth. What we're encouraging employers to do now is to consider what are your top 3 must-haves. You may ask for 5 years, but could you really, if you had 2 years of relevant experience that might transfer into your industry, is that going to actually answer what your needs are? Because sometimes it can be discouraging for a newcomer or others say, I don't have 5 years experience, but I've got 2, and I hit so many of the other markers, but they may not even apply. So I think it's really important for us to clearly understand what are the must-haves, because many times today you can actually train for some of the other business pieces that you have. Or business needs that you may have, whether it's on your internal systems or industry systems that if they have a familiarity with, but maybe not 2 years experience working with it, that can be quite valuable. And I think that you should be, I'm picking up on what Stephanie has said. If it's possible for you to be flexible in terms of your employment, you may actually increase your geographical reach of candidates that may be interested, and it allows people some more flexibility. And another tip that I like to tell to employers is be open to networking, and that means be open to networking on social media. LinkedIn is a fantastic platform for you to get to know people, have some more informal conversations. I tend to accept invitations from a wide variety of individuals because you never know what they may have to offer, what they may be interested in. So many newcomers, and I know that this panel, not just the panel, but everybody attending this session today can appreciate that our newcomers and others come with many skills. They may not be called the exact same thing here in Canada, but the how-tos, that problem that you're looking at solving, if you dig deep and ask the right questions, you'll probably discover that many of the candidates that you would like, that you're considering, actually have the depth of experience or have experience in the area that you're interested in. So my message is try to screen in, look for those possibilities about, be more open to perhaps hiring a new graduate that might be coming out of one of Michael's programs, or maybe they don't have extensive experience working in Canada, but they have many, many transferable skills.
Thank you, Moya. And I think another great point that Moya has touched is finding the right match, right? So what does your employee avatar looks like? Defining what exactly you need, not exactly what you want. And that allows you to find the right players, and keeping in mind that when we're looking every resume above 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, it will come with that price tag. So do we really need to fill every single position with a high price tag with 20 years of experience? Or are there the positions that are entry-level positions where you can bring new graduates that are more willing to test themselves, bring their ideas, they're more excited and can be easily molded as they're coming from colleges and being matched by organizations such as Stephanie, and are also being placed by organizations like Moya's. And all these resources are available to find you the right match for the right position that you actually have created. And the word I'm using, right position, is because our job descriptions that we give out to HR are sometimes very, very common, basic, that were created probably 20 years ago and have the same need and ask. And when we're searching, we're throwing a dart in a dark space instead of finding the right person you need in the right places you can find them. So thank you, Moya. You guys are bringing such amazing points. It's like reintroducing the things sometimes we know. Many of these things we sometimes know deep in our heart, and we're missing them because we get so carried away with putting up all the fires that we have in our workplaces the moment we walk into the doors. So thank you, guys. Michael, what do you think about the program and the opportunities that exist for employers in the market and how they can connect with these new and recent graduates, whether it's through internships or any employment boards or co-op opportunities? How can they find and connect these candidates?
Yeah, thanks, Kiran, and enjoying the conversation. Our programs have the opportunity for employers to test drive the student. So, student works out, great. Student doesn't work out, that's great too. So there's no expectation in the co-op for the employer to hire on the student, but there are incentives, as Moya has mentioned. There's a different way of thinking, as Stephanie has mentioned, that the employer needs to look at when taking these students that want to complete their program. And they've got a lot of fire in the belly. They've got a lot of experience from back home. Most of our students are postgraduate, so they're coming, they have a degree already, they have experience in their home countries, they have a lot of ideas in their own markets, so they're coming to Canada to start a new life and to be here. So it's a great opportunity to do that. So the way to specifically reach out, I mean, you can reach out to me and I can put you in contact with our corporate relations department. Like I had mentioned before, we work with over 5,000 employers. So then what we do is we take your job opportunity, we list it on our site called My Career. It's an Orbis product that University of Waterloo uses, Lambton College in Toronto uses, other institutions use. They call it different names, but Orbis is the base, and we call it My Career. And we list the job opportunity there. So I'd like to say that when we have at least 2 times, 3 times the opportunities are posted for the number of students that we have. So, students are selective, they look at it, they look at the opportunities, and they answer directly back to the employer. Now, we also have a co-op and career department that does the internal work that helps the students in their semesters that they're at the college with their resume, with their cover letter, with their interview skills, with their networking skills. We have a plethora of clubs available to help promote networking. So we try to get the students in shape for the employer. And as I had mentioned to you before, the program advisory committee's great input that the employers are saying, hey, listen, when the student graduates, from the program, we want to make sure that they have these skills so we don't have to retrain them again. And the way to get that input is through the program advisory committee. We meet online twice a year, and then we meet once with the in-person campus tour. So we highly value our PACs, led by an external member. So, you've got to be an external member to be the chair. So those are the opportunities that are out there. Now, we also have focus groups with our students that are on co-op. How did it go? What could you do? What didn't you have? What else could you have provided the employer? And we constantly reach out to our employers and to our students that way while the students are out on placement. I'm also happy to say that 89% of our students that have graduated a year out, would recommend, Lambton College in Toronto to a friend. And also 80% believe that the job that they have found will lead them to their permanent residency. So now, Should it be 100, not 80? Of course, we've got lots of work to do. So that's why, the educator's job is never done. It's a continuum. So the thing is that by working together, we would like to be able to increase that number. But some great success stories and students that have come here as international students and now are graduates and in the workforce. And so it's great, but we are looking to interface more with all of you. And if there's anything that can be done, we will do.
Michael, is it fair that most of these graduates were in the same field and they have done graduation or post-graduation programs in their country? So this is more like polishing to get them ready for Canadian market. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, it's we're the finishing school. Our standards are very, very high here. We have an IELTS. 60% of our students in this summer intake have an IELTS score of 7.0 and above, where the minimum to get into the programs, our postgraduate program, is 6.5. So there's a comment here that Sharif made that a lot of students are struggling to find jobs. If you get good quality students, which we are looking for, which we do, and they're easier to teach, easier to place, easier to find jobs, and they're more serious. Now, there are a lot of colleges that will take students with minimum academic background, bare minimum, and yeah, it's hard. It's a struggle for them. We don't find that here. We find that we're very selective in the students that come in the programs, and we turn away a lot of students because we want the right student, and we find that. So we help them, we assist them. To come to Canada, there's been a lot of press that students are coming and they're trying to survive on 20 hours a week and whatever. Please don't forget, to come to Canada, you have to have a study permit. And to have a study permit, you have to have the financial wherewithal to come to Canada. So you've got to have the funds to be able to come. So if you're relying on 20 hours a week to try and survive in Canada, you're not going to make it. It's just extra money that will help you, but you need to have those funds. Now, it leads to another question. Do you have to be rich and smart to come to Canada? And the answer is yes. I would prefer if we just looked at smart, and if students needed that money, that there are scholarship funds available and we could help some of these students. But right now, you've got to have the money and you've got to have the smarts to be able to be admitted to a lot of these programs, especially at our college.
Thank you, Michael. Moya, there's a question for you in the chat box. So it's regarding overcoming the employment dilemma that employers are challenged with. So there's Sharif said there's a lot of small and medium businesses that are having trouble hiring for many reasons and using the government subsidies. So what do they need to do to find and hire these employees?
So thank you, Sharif, for the question. The great news is that because there are subsidies available, there are also staff and experts to help employers, the small and medium-sized businesses as well, to take them through what that process is and to connect them through our programs, if it is the subsidy piece that's working. The great thing with the government-funded programs, there are very specific programs that if employers are looking for a skill set for, or if they're looking to actually participate in some workforce development opportunities as well. Sometimes programs can be customized to the needs of an employer. But the great news is that there are employer liaisons that can help. One of the things that we try to coach our employers on is, if you come to an organization, or like whether it's like what is Stephanie's business that she's doing, or through the community colleges or colleges like what Michael is operating, we actually quite know our candidates very well, the participants in our program. So because we have spent significant time with them, helping them to work on what their employment plans and goals are. So if it's particular talent that you're looking for, or if you're looking for to recruit for some specific skill sets, many organizations like mine can also do those pre-screenings for you to help you with finding that right candidate. I'm not sure if I'm answering or if I got the gist of your question quite right, Sharif. So if you want to go off mute and if there's a follow-up.
Yeah, you answered it very nicely and everything. My real dilemma was people now are or employers are mainly not being able to find a lot of talent, especially that there are other factors that are keeping employees from actually looking for jobs. And a lot of times people are actually leaving their jobs because they're reliant on things like government subsidies and so on. I have a friend who's not in Mississauga, but he has a restaurant, and his employees are leaving, and he can't find other talent because of things like that. So what would you suggest in order to overcome that?
It was exceptionally tough when, and again, we have to think about, though, we were in a pandemic. The government did the right thing by providing supports to individuals who needed it. But Sharif, you're absolutely right. For some individuals, it was cheaper for them to live by taking a subsidy from the government than it was for them to go out to work, because by the time that they paid for transportation or other things, right, that it was, or childminding, if that was a factor, or elder care, things like that we all deal with as individuals, right, that it was, and a lot of people did leave the workforce. So I think that some of the suggestions I have around this are, again, you have to have, if you can, have competitive wages. You have to look at other ways of rewarding your potential employees to draw them to your organization. Sometimes it can be about culture. Sometimes it can be about, the culture of the organization is what I mean. Like, do they, what other things are you able to offer? If sometimes it may not be possible for you to increase wages significantly to attract the talent, but maybe there are some opportunities for more flexible work arrangements that may make it attractive. And you have to talk about those. You have to talk about those things more with the candidates. I think it's also looking at different talent pools than you normally would go to. So have you considered, right? Like, it's like, have you considered maybe hiring youth where you maybe haven't hired them before in the past, but maybe now you would be more open to that. And it's asking different questions in the interview process. It's so important to especially, and I'm going to focus a little bit on the newcomer talent pool for a minute. Make sure that you're asking questions that actually get at what their skills are that they have to offer you, right? That, maybe if you ask more situational questions, have you done this in the past? Rather than say, do you have years of experience? It gives you a chance to understand, do they have critical thinking skills? Can they problem solve? Have they been in a client or a customer service? Would they know how to work in a customer service environment? If you ask behavioral style questions or more situational questions, you may uncover some really great folks that maybe you wouldn't have screened in the beginning, but now that you may be more open to. But thank you so much for the question. Everybody has, I know many employers are struggling with the same thing.
Yeah. And one other thing to add to that is that if there is 2 people available in the market and 5 employers are looking for it, let's put ourselves in those shoes and see how we're going to think and where we're going to end up, right? Whoever can give us the best match and whoever is going to give us the things that feel home to us as a person, not just as us as a profession, is where we would go and navigate towards. So, and that's why, as Moya mentioned about culture, culture is not just about giving bonuses and higher rates. It's about, giving them all the other comforts. And a lot of comforts have been introduced with COVID where they're getting used to it. And now they want that forever. So you have to be open and find those solutions of how to make it good for them, but still good for you, whether it is by giving them clear targets and goals. And if they're making it happen in 6 hours and not 8, and they can go and do their house chores in 2, I personally feel that should be fine, right? But because they did hit the targets you wanted them to, they just are faster in making things happen. And Moya talked about youth and different generations. Another thing is to look, do you really need that you're in a food industry and you need somebody with an experience from food industry? Or you can take it from IT, or you can take it from manufacturing, because they will bring diversity to the table. And sometimes we need that. We don't need everybody from same backgrounds who are going to talk exactly same verbiage and concept. They will bring other concept from different industries as well. Love how this conversation is going. We have a question from Toby Blake. So Toby, thank you for bringing this question. And it's a question for the whole panel. So please unmute, guys, and just take a turn. And if there's anything you want to add to the question, feel free to do so. A question is, she said, now with the pandemic ending, there has been this talk of the forever resignation. Does the panel have any recommendation to avoid having successful candidates leaving and or not showing up or leaving after 3 weeks to go to the next big opportunity, keeping up with new employee expectation, especially with the availability of hybrid arrangement? There seem to be further fuel that rises into this attention. So
I'm happy to jump in with our panelists. I think this actually answers, this can marry two things together with this idea of a final resignation. A lot of this is a really, really tough spot for employers to be in. But let's talk about the importance of onboarding, because a lot of this can be flushed out through an onboarding process. It's not 100%, and it's very costly for employers to have to keep rehiring for the same positions. You know, it's very challenging to have to keep going at it again and again. And when we really look at what people are looking for and this gap that exists, I've seen a lot of things from supporting clients through the process and being part of a candidate journey. Things can really fall apart in the onboarding because, again, we weren't clear on expectations. We weren't clear on specific things. And also, we talk a lot about, and I love that word, Kieran, the pre-boarding. What happens once we get them through the door? So we need to be thinking about helping them grow within an organization, nurturing that talent. And that onboarding can really help with making them feel welcome. It hasn't been easy for businesses to onboard during a pandemic. We're going to continue to see a fluctuation in terms of attrition, but how we can avoid some of those things is by making it very clear. Maybe there's mentorship programs available, abilities to have a buddy system, whatever coined phrase we could look at there. I think that, you know, there are some areas where we're not doing enough at the forefront, and then that leads to people leaving after 2 and 3 weeks sometimes. You know, we want to avoid those things by being clear. And again, coming back to the working flexible arrangement, were we clear on what those expectations were both ways? Were we clear on what the candidate was looking for? Because I find there's often a miscommunication. A lot can happen with miscommunication. So those are some pieces of advice I would give around the onboarding, and then how that works in with this attrition we're seeing with the future around talent.
Yeah. That's this pre-boarding can be further divided into 2, I think, before onboarding. Before we were talking onboarding is weak in our markets. Then now we came up to pre-boarding. Now it's about, I think one of the CEO mentioned a couple of weeks ago, he's like, Karen, I have picked a person, gave almost double the income that I had in my budget, and I went on board and went flexible to all other few perks that the HR brought to me. And now the person is saying, can I get back to you in 2 weeks and let you know if I want to join? So forget the 90 days probations that we as employers were giving. Then it went to them giving us an probation. Then it went to market for, job seekers that are looking for the perfect fit. Now they have you, so they're choosing the right fit. So you have to, as an employer, put yourself to those things of pre-boarding, onboarding, that Stephanie is mentioning of how critical they are to find the right candidates. And Moya, what do you think from the newcomer perspective on this?
I was going to echo that. I've got a few things. Toby has really hit on such a common occurrence now, and I think everybody's going to nod when they've had this experience recently where they've invested in someone and only to turn around and it seems like they have to hire again. So Stephanie, my head went to the same spot as you. I'm thinking, open communication, make sure that you have the job description, that they really understand what the role and responsibilities are going to be before they accept the position. And having a buddy or a mentor during the onboarding is key. And that is again, I'm not talking about the supervisor who's onboarding them on the actual duties of the job. This is about the culture of the company. What does business casual look like at your organization? Where do you go for lunch usually, or do people take their lunch or not? Just some of those workplace culture things. But some of the other things that I think it is key to understanding what someone's motivation is and wanting to come to work for your company to begin with. Quite often, someone who's going to, if hopefully, if the candidates are being open when you're interviewing with them, or if you're asking enough of the correct probing questions, you'll understand where is it that they really want to be in their career right now. Because, they maybe think, this is a job that I have in hand now, but really what I'm looking for is a more senior position. You have to have those honest discussions from looking at whether it's a resume that they provided you with, or from your notes from your conversation about where are your goals, where do you see yourself, what has been your most recent experience. So I think it's really important to dig a little deeper with your candidates to ensure that this is really the right fit for them and that they're not looking for something else. I always say you also have to make sure, if you've been fortunate enough to have had to make a decision between one or two candidates, you have to make sure that your backup candidate, I'm just being honest about this, that if someone were to leave you, was there anybody else in your pool? You need to make sure that when you are informing that candidate that they weren't right for this position at this time, that you use language like, we really would like to stay in touch with you. Can I check back? Can I, keep that relationship going with people that you think that you may have a keen interest in. And I would tell you to always be looking. It was supposed to be always be selling, I know, but always be looking for candidates. You should, and that's why the power of LinkedIn, I try to keep as many conversations going with people. I may not have an open position right now, but I'm always looking at connecting with people to ensure that we have this consistent pool. There is no quick answer to this question, but those are some of the things that I would suggest that may help to assist you through it.
Thank you, Maya. Stephanie, there's a question for you. How many interviews do you recommend before making a final decision on candidates?
Great question. And I'm going to answer this two ways because I'm going to mention a couple things I've seen from my experience, things that work and things that don't work. And sometimes we have clients where it's too fast. So it's, we've met the candidate, we love them, let's go. We want to move as quickly as possible. We've had other candidates work through a process that's too long and it drags out and there's too many people involved in the process. So you want to find a happy medium. So some of these things will be dependent on the level. So for more organization, a more senior level, maybe there are a few more people involved. Maybe from the beginning, you can get that hiring manager again involved right away. So if there's a way to avoid these big panel interviews, which I'm personally not as a fan of in terms of getting to know someone. And again, we've moved from virtual to in person. I would say you want to find a happy medium between, at least 2 to 3 interviews to, we've had clients where they wanted to have everyone involved and there was 7 different meetings. That's too many and you lose engagement from candidates. It's a huge investment of time. You're competing with a lot of other organizations. There's a war for talent. So you need to find a way that works best for your business. So it's a bit individual, but if you're looking to hire, it's really hard for the candidate to make a decision after one meeting. It's really hard for a candidate to still be interested after 6 meetings. So I think at that point, you're not showing a sureness on what you're looking for. Why is it taking so long to make that decision? You know, because you lose people in the process, there's likely a chance they're looking at other opportunities. So I don't want to necessarily fix a number to it, but at least more than one. I would say 2 to 3 is a good number. But again, it depends on how many people you're compressing into that as well. But I would just say it's important though, and coming back to point Moya you've made as well, communicate through the process, be transparent. We have a great rapport working with candidates on the journey. Let them know, listen, we're still ongoing with the process. We're super interested in you. We just need to finish off these interviews. Keep them engaged, because when there's this radio silence, again, that speaks volumes to candidates too. And to Moya's point, if they weren't the successful candidate, leave that door open. How people are treated, it comes down to candidate experience again in the interview process. How people are treated and how they engage with you will keep them coming back for a future opportunity if they aren't successful in this round. So I would say try to strike a balance there, but making sure you have the right stakeholders involved from the beginning will really help streamline that process.
Thank you. Another question from Ajay is that, are there any significant gaps that you observe between an employer and a candidate with respect to hiring? Stephanie, Moya, feel free to jump in.
I'm going to jump in. When I hear a significant gap between an employer and a candidate, it means there's been a failure to communicate somewhere in that, right? So did the employer not clearly articulate what their needs are and what the person is actually going to be doing in that job? Did we check for understanding from the candidate? That is communication is 2 ways, but it's also about understanding. So it's, yes, did they hear you, but did they really understand what was going to be involved in the job? And Stephanie, I was just thinking about with our last question that you were just answering. When possible, I love to connect a candidate with somebody who's doing that job, like almost have them do an informational interview with somebody within that company. That gives that realistic view of what working in this organization is like. It may not always be possible, but if it is a possibility, and I find even that will help with some of the gaps. Usually gaps are usually about expectations. Are employers have they really prioritized what the top skills are that they're looking for? And did they communicate those to the candidate? So usually that's what I would start with, but I don't know if Michael or Stephanie has something else they want to add.
I think that's great. I think from the communication standpoint, and I say this from the perspective, and obviously I'm working with the candidates a different part of the journey and partnering with employers to help bridge that gap. Don't wait until you're going to make an offer to figure out where that compensation alignment is either, or total rewards or what they're looking for to find out, they actually wanted to be in an office, they wanted to be in an office 5 days a week and you have a different expectation, or you're not clear on what the salary band is. I mean, at that point in the conversation, there needs to be some alignment. I'm not saying lead with that, and it's not all about compensation until rewards, but don't wait until the end to manage those expectations either. Now, that's where a search partner can really help, because those are conversations you can be having with the candidates, offline, and then presenting that back to the employer. But I do see a lot of gaps there where there's just a big misunderstanding on the role, because let's be honest, around titles, it's really hard to decipher a level of a role based on a title. A senior project manager may mean something completely different at 5 different organizations. So I guess the messaging here is, don't make an assumption. That's where miscommunication occurs. If we can try to clear up some of those things, manage those expectations better, I think it would result in a more successful process from beginning to end.
Thank you, Stephanie. I just wanted to be respectful of the time. I have one more quick question left. So Michael, be very quick because Stephanie probably needs a minute to wrap it up.
Sure.
There was a question for you about from the new workforce coming into our country. From their perspective, what do you hear? What can we do to facilitate a better living and making it easier for them to enter the workforce?
Yeah, that's great. and thank you for the question. And I'll make it fast. Lots of resources are available, both social resources. We work a lot with COSTI and the affiliate North York Community Housing. There's a myriad of different programs that are available to help students in that transition. It's a culture shock coming from thousands of kilometers away to Canada. I understand that, and I see that every day. So there's lots of resources available. We offer resources at the college, like all colleges and universities, post-secondary institutions offer. But there's, the mother only feeds the baby that cries. You got to put your hand up. You need help. You need assistance. We say to students, reach out to us, and we can assist and we can point you in the right direction.
Perfect. Thank you, Michael. Thank you, everyone, for being with us. Hope there was great takeaways for you and something that you can take back to your organization and use it. So I'll hand it over to Stephanie.
Great. Thank you so much to all of our guest speakers today and for you, Karen, for moderating. So thank you to our Professional Development Committee for organizing this event. It was fantastic. Thank you again for joining. JD Factors, Kaiser Mason Ball, thank you again for your support on our program and in our series. I look forward to seeing everyone on our upcoming events. Our calendar is updated weekly. Our mayor's event is next week, followed by a fantastic golf event in July. So definitely take a look at our website, and I look forward to seeing all of you soon. Take care, and thank you again for joining.
Thank you.
Thank you, panelists.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.